We finally made it. We're here. Once we're done with this video, once you've gone through this 12 minute video, you will have WordPress installed on your LAMP server and be ready to be editing your website and making something beautiful. Obviously, you can see I've got a lot of work to do on my site, but after I did all of this that you're about to go through, you will be staring at a page like this that you can point directly from a domain name that you purchase right to your site and have a beautiful working web server. The dream of all real geeks here is to have a LAMP server, and you're about to have one. So let's get in there and get started. It's going to get frustrating for a minute, especially watching me not use sudo before every command like I need to. But eventually I get the message and use sudo space -i and skip all of the having to type that in every time. But in case you want to follow along exactly, if you're new, have never done this before, then just follow along, make my mistakes with me, and let's have some fun together. Let's fill your brain.
Alright, so Control-Alt-T, open your terminal. A lot of this I'm going to stay silent because you need to be typing in these commands. You're going to see me type them in. You're also going to see the command down below to help you enter them in. Hit pause at any time so that you can have time to enter in the commands yourself, and then hit play to continue. You want to follow these steps exactly. Now what we just did on that first step is we created basically access. U stands for username and the P stands for password for our root login to be able to access the MySQL. We're going to create a database here. We're going to create a user, and we're going to grant privileges to that user on that SQL database. And you need to remember anything that you create here. You need to remember that your username, and you remember your password. You don't have to use the same thing I use. Like I'm using DasGeek at localhost, and we created the database of DasGeekDB. You can change that to whatever you want your DB database to be named. So create database space, whatever you want to name it. Make sure you end it in a semicolon. That's a MySQL necessity. And then the same thing for your password and your username. And then we're going to grant privileges. Now I'm not going to talk through this whole video because this video is meant to really be followed along with, but I will come in and talk about any key points that need to be discussed as we're going through, or any information on the type of commands that we're talking about. So now we're going to make a directory here, and this is so we can install our WordPress. So we use the make directory temp, cd space temp to change directory into there, and then we're going to get this file off the website of wordpress.org and download it directly into that temp folder so we can start working with it. Couple things to remember here. You notice I make a lot of mistakes with not using sudo. You can use the root-i, root space-i command if you want to get into root. Another issue you may come into is as you're typing in these commands, if something fails, pay attention to all of the text underneath to make sure you've got most of the files that you're downloading, that you're getting success messages or installation messages like you're supposed to. If you're not seeing what you're seeing on my screen, you may have been in the wrong directory, so make sure you're in the right directory. You can look at my screen, see what directory I'm in, and if you're not, you're just going to use the CD space and then whatever directory you need. If you're kind of lost on where you're at, you can always use the dir command to see where you're at and what directories are available to you from your current path. So chown and chmod, these commands are going to basically assign ownership and allow your database to have access into these files, to have permissions into it. And 755 is a permission granting algorithm that allows you to allows the server to basically read and view those files, but it will not allow it to write to those files. You would use 777 for that. That would be pretty unsecure to do, so that's why we're using the 755 instead of 777. So you see here, I'm going to demonstrate the sudo space-i command. And now I won't have to keep typing in sudo before every command. You can see at this point I got pretty frustrated with forgetting to type in sudo every time, so I just use this workaround here, and that logs you in as root. When you want to get out of that, you're going to want to use exit. You're going to type in exit, and that will put you back. You can see I use gedit. You can use any of the editors that you want. I prefer gedit just because it's simple, more graphical, being more like a word processor than some of the others, which are more command line. And that's it. Once you do that gedit and you put in your information, your username, your password, and the database name, you are going to be able to type in the IP address /WordPress that you set with your static IP, whatever your static IP is. You can use ifconfig if you forgot what your IP is. And so I typed in my IP, and of course you get that splash page. But once we do /WordPress, we're going to get the WordPress installation page, and the rest of it is just click next, click finish, and go. And that, my friends, is the web server completely set up. You are done. You have made it. We've done it in under about 12 minutes of video, and you have a web server completely installed